Martial Arts University. This is Joel Williams again, Content Director for GMAU. And today I've got another student spotlight, and this is a very special student spotlight. This is what I call the couples edition student spotlight. Today we've got Luke and Vivien, who are both students in the Ultimate Bow, Krav Maga, and Muay Thai programs. They have been married for 3 years now, and they live in London, and they have built-in training partners because they're married. So I'm really excited, Luke and Vivien, to be doing this interview with you, and I thank you so much for your time. So let me just ask you to share a little bit about your martial arts background with us.
Sure. Thanks for having us here today, Joel. So, yeah, like you mentioned, we are married. We've been married a couple of years now. We're from Hong Kong originally, and we moved to London about 3 years ago, and we've been living here since. We have a small flat in Richmond that's on the southwest edge of London. And we've converted about half of it into a training space, so you can see some of our equipment behind us there. So, okay, you asked us about our martial arts background. So we have some martial arts background before we started with GMAU. My background is mainly in kickboxing.
Well, mine is mostly in Krav Maga. So I started learning Krav Maga while I was in Hong Kong. And in fact, I've gotten to practitioner level 1. So I've taken one examination before. Yeah, and in fact, Luke and I met at a Krav Maga class at our university.
Yeah, I signed up for a 1-semester taster course with Krav Maga. Arrived at my very first Krav Maga class. She was there taking names.
Because I was the assistant to the teacher.
Right, but I thought you were the instructor, so I was really terrified and behaving myself really well around you. And you were collecting everyone's phones and Facebook profiles
to put everyone in the Facebook community so that we can like.
Yeah, and I was overjoyed. I was going, oh yes, didn't even have to ask.
Anyway, yeah, that's how we met, through martial arts.
That's how we met. And
from the very beginning, there was a martial arts connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and tell me how you found GMAU. How did you find Global Martial Arts University?
So our first course with GMAU was Ultimate Bow. That was the course that led us to GMAU. I guess what kind of led us to start searching was that we both wanted to learn a weapon style. So both of us kind of learned unarmed styles before, and we thought, you know, it might be nice to learn a weapon, right? Because it's a very practical thing for self-defense. In a real life self-defense or survival situation, you might not be restricted to using your hands and feet. You might want to, you might find some kind of object nearby that you can use as a weapon. And we thought it would be nice to learn something kind of really common, really pragmatic. Okay, a staff, a bow seems like something that even in this modern day and age, you'd easily find lying around. But because we live in a fairly small town, white part of London, there's not really a lot of good martial arts schools nearby. So we ended up taking our search online, and we looked up a couple of different courses, and the one that looked best to us was GMAU.
Yeah, we like it the most because when we look at how GMAU is structured, it has like progress tracking, it has grading, you're allowed to stream video to learn from it. And then you can also contact the instructor anytime. And there's even a community sharing within the GMAU. So we really like how it looks. That's why we applied for it. And that's how we found GMAU.
And we ended up liking it so much that we signed up for 2 more courses.
Yes, that's the Muay Thai and Krav Maga.
Awesome. So that leads right into a follow-up question that I always like to ask. What has been your experience with GMAU? So what would you share about, what you have enjoyed, maybe what you think could be different, but just your own personal assessment and evaluation of your experience with GMAU.
Well, we actually have been really impressed with how well designed the curriculum is at GMAU. And this applies to all the courses we've tried so far. We really feel like the course content has been very well thought out. Each level really builds on the last one. It makes you go back and perfect the techniques in the previous levels. And everything adds on in a very logical way, right? And there's also a time requirement before you're allowed to take the exam. So by the time you're ready to move on to the next level, you've really had time to get good at those particular techniques for the level. So we recently did the Muay Thai exam, and by the time we did that, we'd spend 36 hours doing jabs and crosses. And by the time we're ready to move on to the next level, learn something new. And but the thing is, those techniques keep coming back. And the way the course is structured is, as you move on, you're so confident with the lower level stuff that it doesn't kind of affect your ability to learn the new stuff. And at the same time, the new stuff doesn't replace the old stuff.
Yeah, and also something I really like about the BOLD program is how kata videos instruction is structured. So it is actually very easy. It's actually easier to learn through those videos than in person, in my opinion, because you can, when you watch a video, when you're learning in person, it's very hard to like look at everything from every direction or point of view in order to copy the instructor. But when you're learning from a video, you can pause it, you can rewatch some minute detail just to get from how you place your arms, your footwork, every detail, you can make sure that you can get it right. You can start and pause and watch again. So I also really like how it has a back follow along, as well as looking at it from the front, a slow version, a fast version, everything adds up. And this is definitely a huge advantage.
Yeah, that's the GMAU experience really is kind of it's really huge. It touches every part of your life, and we've really also enjoyed being a part of the community. One thing that really struck us was that GMAU has a great community. We've got the discussion boards on the GMAU site itself, and we've got our Facebook group. And being part of that community really motivates you to train. You keep wanting to do new stuff, so you can share with people. If you're having difficulties in your training, you can go ask your fellow students for help. We've actually found that we end up learning a huge amount from our fellow students. You learn a lot from each other, from watching other people's videos and kind of sharing your experiences with them. So it actually doesn't feel like training alone, despite being a distance course.
One of the things about having that Facebook community, so GMAU has an official Facebook page and an official Instagram account. But within GMAU, if you're a GMAU student, you can be part of the GMAU community Facebook page. And so it's a private group. But, having something like that is really nice, but it's not going to do anything for you unless you actually use it and engage in it, just like you're saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I have noticed when I look at the Facebook community page is there's no, I don't see any negativity. I see just positive feedback, constructive criticism, that sort of thing. And so there's, you don't have to worry about trolls and, people being negative and that sort of thing. So it seems like a very supportive place. Has that been?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, one thing I noticed is that we are not really worried about sharing what our challenges are. Like you get the feeling that if you have difficulty or challenges in a specific area, no matter it's in Muay Thai or in Bo or in Krav Maga, someone else will have faced the same thing before. Yeah. And they understand you and they would give you tips and some ideas of how to approach that. So that is really, really nice.
Yeah, the culture of the GMAU community, both on Facebook and on the discussion forums on the site is, really supportive. Everyone kind of is there to help each other. There's no unhealthy competition. People don't try to put each other down. Sometimes, people share kind of bad news, like maybe they're injured, maybe they're moving house or they're out of training. And everyone just, supports them and try to give them kind of helpful feedback, helpful advice. So yeah, it's a really nice culture that we've built up.
Yeah.
Nobody's embarrassed to share absolutely anything. I remember once we were filming, I think for an exam or something, and I did something. Did one technique bag and bashed myself in the head. And I immediately said, "Did you get a video of that? I want to put it on Facebook."
That's good that you feel that kind of confidence and comfort in wanting to share that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that would encourage other people, I think, because not every practice session you have is perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it is imperfect because you're trying to perfect your technique. And so to share something like that is really encouraging, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, it's good to kind of show the more realistic side of training as well.
Not only the perfect side.
There's going to be a mistake. You're going to get frustrated. I think it would feel artificial if all we shared was, that one perfect take.
Yeah. So is it hard to stay motivated when you're involved in 3 different programs at the same time?
Well, so far we actually haven't done that much in the Krav Maga course because we are quite busy with bow and Muay Thai. But we like the combination of Muay Thai and bow because when it's raining outside, then we can do Muay Thai at home. Yeah. And then when it's a nice day, then we can go outside and train bow.
Yeah. We kind of have a long-term strategy as well. So for us, what really, I know some other students in multiple courses jump between the courses, do a bit here, a bit there, and that's fine. For us, I think what we find most motivating is focusing on one thing at a time. So at the moment, we're focusing very heavily on bow. I think we're about halfway through the red chevron curriculum. So we plan to do our black chevron exam in the next maybe 3 months. Mm-hmm. And then after that, we'll move on and focus on one of the other courses instead.
And of course, you can go at your own pace, right? So that's one of the other nice things about GMAU programs. You can spend as much time on it as you want, but you still have to be able to demonstrate that the technique and you can execute. Otherwise, as you know, you don't pass assignments, you have to redo them. You don't pass tests, you have to redo them. That's pretty standard, but it is very nice that you can, like you said, you can go at your own pace. And one of the things it sounds like you're doing is you're heavily involved in one program, you've gotten involved in another program, and now a third, but you can dip into those other programs slowly and as you need to. Sometimes you have to shift your focus, right, from one program to another.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, you have touched on a point that I think is worth bringing up, is that after joining the GMAU program, we actually trained martial arts a lot more than we would have otherwise. Like when we used to go to a gym, the most you can do is once or twice a week. But with GMAU, we can actually train every day. We can log out every day. So all the training for martial arts and exercise has never been so intense.
Especially with pandemic restrictions, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I can certainly say that I have not improved so much as martial arts as after I joined the GMAU. Before that, you go to a class once or twice a week, you take an exam once a year, which is fine.
But the progress is very, very slow. Unlike with GMAU, you can go very quickly if that's what you wish and if you put time to it.
You can train every single day, and in a week you're already doing a technique in a completely different way. You've found a much more efficient way to do it
than a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, as a couple, you have a built-in training partner. So, what can you share about that experience? That's a unique situation, and it's something that I think that people who are already students at GMAU or people who are thinking about joining, if they had a husband or a wife or a partner or a child or a friend or someone else they could do the program with, I think it would be really beneficial because depending on the relationship, you've got a built-in partner. So how's that been for the two of you?
Yeah, for us, we start as soon as we signed up for Ultimate Bow, we immediately went for a family account. So we have the linked family program so that when we train, we actually synchronize our time, and we do that every single training session so that we're actually advancing at the same pace.
Yeah,
which has been amazing because we started at the same place and we're going through the curriculum together.
Yeah,
and we're exercising together, and we're each other's training partner. We do a lot of drills together, and we found that it's actually very helpful. And I can imagine that it's really, really hard without a training partner, especially with sparring or with some more advanced techniques. And so we really recommend people to find a training partner. It can be a friend, it can be a family member, it can be son, daughter, husband, wife, uncle, aunt, grandfather, grandmother. And also, you want to talk about the student locator?
Oh yeah. We're aware that GMAU has a student locator feature, so that can be a good way forward for you to find a training partner if you don't have one easily on hand.
You can even ask in the Facebook community as well if anyone is around that location and want to train together.
Yeah, I think overall with our conclusion is it is very useful to have a training partner. There's a lot you can do training solo, of course, but at the end of the day, having a training partner makes all the difference.
It makes things a lot more fun as well because it can be like a mini competition sometimes.
And you motivate each other.
And you can see what other people are doing and you learn from each other. And sometimes when you are doing it on your own, you can't notice some mistakes or some like the reason behind why things doesn't work, I think don't work. So I think that is very helpful to have a partner. It's like having a mirror.
Yeah. Well, I want to respect your time today, and you all have been very gracious with your time. So I want to wrap things up, but before I do, let me ask you if there's anything else that you want to share or say before we sign off.
We have a couple of funny stories about training in the Ultimate Bow program that we can share. So yeah, one thing we've kind of learned through our Ultimate Bow journey is, and this is advice we give to anyone thinking of doing Ultimate Bow, is don't be afraid to use public spaces. A lot of flats are small like ours. A lot of flats and houses have low ceilings, so you can't really train with a full-length bow staff indoors. So what we've typically done is we use a Joe, so a shorter staff.
You can also use a broomstick or a mop.
Some fellow students use a broomstick or a mop or an umbrella. You learn the basics indoors. Then you take your full-length staff and then you go out to a park, some kind of public area where you can do all the training all over again with the proper staff. So we do that.
And in fact, yes, a lot of people actually come by and saying, wow, this is amazing. And this is starting from the very beginning when we were just yellow chevron and doing the most basic stuff. So people are like very enthusiastic about it. So that was amazing feeling.
Yeah, training outdoors has been a very interesting experience. It's like nothing else. It's not the same as training indoors. It's not the same as training at the gym. All sorts of people stop and kind of try to chat to you. They ask you what you're doing. Sometimes they complain about you being too loud.
But one thing you do need to pay attention to is that dogs and children, instead of running away when you're waving a rapidly moving stick, they run towards it.
Yes.
yeah, that's something we know. You're doing like a figure eight spin or something. You'd think that anyone would stay far away, and then you get a dog or a small child running directly towards you, and they're not slowing down. And Vivien goes, just for God's sake, just stop. Stop spinning.
So have you been able to recruit any training partners through those interactions you've had in the park?
Well, yeah, I think we've had a couple of people come up to us and ask, oh, what style are you training? Do you give lessons? We haven't got our instructor licenses yet, so we haven't.
Yeah, we did
made
direct
classes.
them to GMAU. I don't know whether they joined.
They might have. We told them to go on Global Martial Arts University, and there's an online course for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so again, training outdoors, you start having to think about things like, the weather. So we found that the weather always goes wrong on the one day you're trying to film for a competition or an exam. You're going to have a month of beautiful weather, and then I think the last time we were filming, for example, the one day we decide, okay, today's the day we do our exam. We go out, and it's so windy that your camera just keeps spinning around.
And then it starts hailing.
And then you have to leave.
Yeah. Well, thank you both so much for your time. It's been just a great pleasure. I call you the dynamic duo. And so I hope you're okay with that. If you are, I'll continue to do it.
It's our honor.
Good. Well, I thank you again so much for your time. And I'm really looking forward to getting this one all edited and out so people can see it and be encouraged by your experience with GMAU.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for interviewing us.
All right. Thank you so much.